Well, hello, Cindy Sullivan. It is so good to see you. So this is after Earth Day, before Arbor Day. We have so much to talk about. How are you doing?
Doing very well. Thank you so much, Rachel. It's good to see you.
You too. So Trees Louisville, a nonprofit that you head up. Let's talk a little bit about what its mission is.
Our mission is to improve the overall tree canopy in our community. And by tree canopy, I mean all of the branches and twigs and stems and leaves that shade us from above. That's tree canopy. And American Forest is a national nonprofit, and they recommend in our region about 45% overall canopy for a community to be really healthy. Ours at this point is at 39. So we've got some work to do, but we are making progress
In the right direction, because I've seen so many of the projects that you've done. The city seems to certainly have bought into this, and also expanding the tree canopy because of urban heat, right? I mean, there's a vested interest for the city to have more of a tree canopy, correct?
Absolutely, Rachel. And the interesting thing is the city did commission a couple of studies. They did a study that looked at the tree canopy from 2004 to 2012. And that study predicted a very steep decline in our canopy. By 2022, according to that assessment, we were supposed to be at about 30%. But we're working together with the city. And interestingly, city-owned or controlled properties are only about 30% of plantable areas. The other 70% is privately owned properties. So that's where we team up. City works on their own property. We help homeowners, industrial parks, businesses, private property owners improve their canopy so that we're really working together. And it's making a difference. Trees Louisville just commissioned a new study that looked at 2012 data and 2019 data. And that showed that we actually have a 1% increase during that time period. So we've not only stopped that decline and leveled off, we've actually improved just a little bit.
Well, kudos to you, because I know it's your life's work. It really is. But let's talk about why education, because with the public, if that's such a big part of the equation, let's talk about that. So I was looking on your website and you have the benefits broken down into different things. Let's talk about the tree canopy and trees and the benefits of that. So environmental, I guess the pretty basic core would be air improvement, right?
Absolutely. Air improvement, air quality improvement is very important. And we can really quantify these benefits. There's lots of modeling that has been created by the U.S. Forest Service. And so we know air quality improves when you've got a robust tree canopy. Maybe even more importantly, stormwater management, because the trees intercept what's coming down, and the roots also intercept what's going, what's coming down to the soil level. So stormwater management is really important. You mentioned urban heat island effect. Trees greatly mitigate that condition because they provide shade that cools us. And urban heat island effect, just to kind of define that, it's the difference between the center city, if you will, and the outlying areas. And in our community, the rural areas that surround our community can be 10 degrees cooler than the city. And that's really important when you're talking about the health of a community, because heat actually kills more people globally than any other weather event combined. Yeah. And so heat is really something that we need to be paying attention to. So that's another one of the really important environmental benefits.
The next one I wanted to get into was economic, just about energy savings, increasing property values, some basic things that people might not think of.
I think one of the things that we have worked really hard to improve is public awareness. The fact is, Louisville looks pretty green, and many neighborhoods are very green, but not all. So raising that public awareness about how important it is and how scattered the the percentages are according to neighborhood is really important. And so economically, yes, we know that property values increase. We also know from studies all over the place that if you have an a retail area, a shopping center that is cool and inviting and well-treed, people stay longer, they spend more money. So those things are very important for not just our general population, but for business and economic development.
I know when I read that one, I was surprised by that. It can increase foot traffic, shade, of course, energy savings. Let's go into some of the social, because some of those I was kind of surprised by. Neighborhoods with more trees, there's less crime, really?
Absolutely. Study after study show that crime can be reduced 12%, sometimes more, sometimes less, but an average of 12% when you've got a more robust tree canopy. And I think it does make perfect sense if you think about it. If you've got a nicely treed front yard that shades your porch, you're much more likely to be out there talking to your neighbors, socializing. So the social cohesion aspects of a well-treed neighborhood are really important, and it's very well documented. If you have more shade, you're going to be walking more, you're going to be more active. So again, you're going to be healthier and you're going to have a healthier community. There's actually a study that was done that I think is so interesting in Toronto. And they controlled for all of these other factors, but the study showed that when a block in a neighborhood was improved by 10 trees, that the residents reported feeling younger, as much as 7 years younger.
Wow.
And $10,000 richer. So
I'm planting more trees as of today then.
Yeah.
Well, let's also talk about just for social campuses, because I've seen a lot of the work that you all have done has targeted schools. And there's a reason for that too. Tell us about that, because I was really interested in that as far as students and less absenteeism and things like that I wouldn't have connected those dots.
Needless to say, the European countries are way ahead of us in a lot of these studies and improvements. And there are global studies that show that when students are connected with nature, when they're exposed to nature, and that can be something as simple as seeing green out your classroom window. They do perform better on their test scores. They exhibit less symptoms of things like ADHD. They have better behavior. They socialize better. All of these things have been proven with studies. And one of our first initiatives when Trees Louisville came to be was to partner with JCPS. JCPS is like the 27th largest public school system in the United States. I mean, it's big. There's at least 160 facilities where students, work and learn. And unfortunately, just like many other buildings and development projects, when it comes down to the end of the project and the money's running low, landscaping and trees is what suffers. So we have partnered with JCPS since the get-go, and it has been just the best thing we could have ever done, because obviously we're improving the campuses environmentally. But the other thing that we're doing is taking advantage of these educational opportunities. We have a backpack project in elementary schools in JCPS. We've got a science lesson that uses arboricultural tools and tree identification tools and online tools so that the students can actually quantify the benefits of the trees on their campus. And then we also have I know it just, and all of these things just sort of synergistically fell into place, which is just great.
They make perfect sense.
Yeah.
Perfect sense.
Yeah, and we do high school education programs focusing on urban forestry, because unfortunately, our industry doesn't do a very good job of promoting itself. And so a lot of students don't realize that there's a lot of opportunity in landscape architecture and in urban forestry where you can make a really good wage and feel good about what you're doing with your community. We also
Absolutely.
work with the University of Kentucky, so we're kind of, we're hitting all of these levels.
Good,
We
good.
do a lot of work.
And want to circle back to health impact with trees, with lowering blood pressure and stress and those kinds of things as well. Perhaps some of the most important things, just with how it impacts our health.
Absolutely. The Japanese culture has uh, a system, a health system that includes Shinrin Yoku, which is forest bathing. And they know and have known for centuries that when you are walking through a forest, your blood pressure lowers, your immune markers get better, your stress markers go down. I mean, all of that has been well documented. And actually, interestingly, here in Louisville, the University of Louisville and the Envirome Institute are doing a study in some neighborhoods called the Green Heart Project. And they have preliminary data that indicates that trees do improve health.
I love this.
It's amazing.
So
Mhm.
as Arbor Day is approaching, I want to know what we can do. Plant trees, but we need to be educated when we plant trees. I was surprised to see some recent stories about trees we should be planting, but there are definitely some trees that we should not. So educate us about that.
So just from a practical standpoint, trees that are fast growing tend to be a little bit weak wooded. And let's use the Bradford pear as the classic example, because it is a beautiful tree. It has beautiful spring flowers. It's got a nice shape. It has great fall color and even kind of interesting bark for winter interest. So it's kind of like, we used to call it the nurseryman's dream because it was just so promotable. Unfortunately, as it grows, the branch angles grow very narrowly. And so bark can be included in there, which makes those branches very weak. So in a heavy rain or an ice storm or wind, those are going to be more prone to breakage. So there's that weakness problem in that particular tree. The other thing that happens, so when you're a nursery person and you're introducing new cultivars and varieties, the Bradford was one of the first calorie pears. I mean, that's its parent name, calorie pear, to be on the market, and it was supposed to be sterile, and it was at first, right? So the fruit that was produced would not produce more trees. Unfortunately, as more and more cultivars came on the market, like the Aristocrat and the Cleveland Select and all of those other ones, they were pollinating each other. So now we know that that Bradford pear that was supposed to be so perfect is a very aggressive and very invasive plant because now it is being pollinated, and so they are everywhere.
Okay.
I was with my mom in Lexington a week or so ago, and she was going, we're going through acres of these calorie pears that have volunteered along the expressway. And she's going, oh, isn't this just beautiful? But unfortunately,
Now you're going, no, it's not. Let me tell you why.
because they choke out our native plants, they create these populations that don't allow other things to be able to get, ahead of the game. So, so they really are quite a problem.
So
And
let's
if you
talk
go
about,
to,
oh, go ahead.
okay, if you go to the to LouisvilleKY.gov, the Louisville website, and type in prohibited species, that will give you a list of all the trees that are not really good for planting in an urban area.
That is really good to know. So give me your top three as we get ready to go into Arbor Day of trees that you would say, take a look at these.
Oh my goodness. I would say first and foremost, probably oaks. The family of oaks, the genus of oaks, has many, many, many different species with different characteristics. And the thing about the oak family is they nurture more other creatures than any other genus around. I mean, but from mammals like squirrels and rabbits and then birds and then also tons and tons of insects. So hundreds of thousands of species depend on oak species for nourishment. So oaks would be my top. The other would be some of our other native plants that, I mean, just me personally, I love sassafras. It's an unusual plant because it is the only tree that has 3 different shapes of leaf, one like this, and one that's kind of like this. So it's a really beautiful tree with great fall color. It's got pretty yellow flowers in the springtime. Love that plant, love it. And it's very underused. So that would be another one. Oh my goodness. My other favorite is a beech. And of course, we have our native beeches that are just absolutely majestic. All you have to do is take a walk in Cherokee Park and you see these beautiful gray barked, gorgeously shaped, regal trees. And there also are some really good European versions, and again, with lots of different leaf characteristics, fern leaf beech and cut leaf beech and purple beech, copper beech. I mean, so that probably would be the other genus that I would gravitate toward.
I love those. And you have lists on your website as well. And I want to let people know, you've done some tree giveaways already, but you said that you might be doing some in May. So for people to keep an eye out on your website.
The best thing to do is just go to our website, and you can actually, click on and join our newsletter. And that newsletter goes out every month or so, and that will be where we will announce any tree giveaways. What we find too, Rachel, and this is an interesting another economic situation that we're in. Needless to say, trees have take a bit before they're ready to go, right? I mean, 3 years is probably not unheard of to get some species out on the market. So what we're finding is supply and demand in regard to trees is getting really, really tight. In the downturn of 2008, here in our area, we lost more than half of our local growers.
Wow.
And right, so there are very few trees available to us. Prices are rising, and they're getting more and more difficult to obtain. So what we have done is we've contracted with one of our regional growers to grow trees for us. So he will have some ready to go, and they will be in containers. I mean, generally, you want to plant your trees during the dormant season between November and April. But when you've got containerized trees, they've got an existing root system. And as long as you make sure that you water them through that first summer, they should be absolutely fine. So we will very likely have some more tree giveaways in early summer, and then obviously again in the fall. So keep in touch with our website. It's a really good idea.
And thank you for all you do. I really appreciate it. And when I got on your website, I was like, well, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. And that's kind of the whole point, is to educate people like me, right?
That's our main goal, is education, education, education. And the reason why is because what people don't appreciate, they don't respect, and what they don't respect, they don't protect. And what they don't protect, they are going to lose. So it's not easy being green, but we're trying.
Love that. Thank you so much, Cindi. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, Rachel. Always good to see you.
You too.